Hi, everybody.
Hey,
It's Christine and Tina, ladies of the Lanai. I'm Christine,
I'm Tina.
and we have with us a special guest today. Would you introduce yourself?
I'm Tess McCormick.
And that's Tess. Today, we're going to bring you a special edition of Ask a Villager. We're going to get into Tess's very extraordinary life and how she got here. But before we do, we just want to remind you to please make sure that you're liking and subscribing to this channel and share with others if you see any content that you seem interesting. So, first of all, Tess, people have asked us if we would focus a little bit more on maybe or look at people in their 70s and 80s, and we have someone who's even better than that.
She's seasoned.
You don't mind telling us all how old you are?
No, actually, I have to tell you the truth. I used to lie about my age all the time until I hit 90. And then I said, are you kidding? Why should I hide the fact that I am actually now 93?
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Because it's for you to say, this is what 93 looks like. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, what it can look like. For
what
sure.
it can look like.
Yeah.
And again, you attribute that to.
I actually have to say I am a gym rat. As most women know, menopause is hell. For me, it was terrible. I was sweating to death. And my doctor is the one that said, why don't you sweat in the gym? I think it'll make you feel better. And that's when I started.
That's when you started?
Started.
Wow.
Well, I was too busy before then to think about myself because I was trying to survive. Because I didn't grow up with some of the amenities that the girls of today have. Like college was out for girls of my age.
Absolutely. So you were born where?
In a little village upstate New York called Piermont, New York.
Okay. And you have an interesting story about your family and how your early childhood developed.
I'm one of 6. My parents were both born in Italy. My father came here illegally because he didn't want to fight for Mussolini. And he said that Mussolini was a traitor to the Italian people. So he and some of his relatives, young teenage boys, got on the ship and they had no idea where they were going to end up. My father ended up in New York, and we asked where the others end up. He used to say the other America. That's South American.
Oh.
And
I did hear that a lot of Italians went to Argentina.
That's exactly
It happened in my family. We have some Argentine background because of that.
So when I got married, my husband and I did a trip around South America. He hired a guide, and to find the name Mercurio, which is our maiden name.
Mercurio.
In Argentina, there were hundreds of them. We never found.
There was one I grew up in Indiana. There was a Mercurio.
Yeah. I know a girl here in the Villages from Argentina, and I know I'm diverting a little bit, but I think it's so interesting. She said that because there were quotas, that Argentina was one of the countries that didn't have so much of a quota. So a lot of Italians went to Argentina. Interesting. All right. So you told us that, again, your childhood, you were the youngest of 6. So what happened?
So my mother only had a 4th grade education because in Italy she was going to be a housekeeper. So she spoke no English when she came here, but my father had what he called 2 years of university. And so they met in a class where they were learning English.
Oh, nice.
But my father was all for education. He said there were 6 of us. I'm the youngest of 6. And he decided the boys were going to go to college because they need to support a family. But the girls get married and have babies because God wants you to do that.
And that seemed like a common theme back then.
Yeah.
Especially with Italian Catholics.
But not for you.
But sometimes my father would say, where did she come from? But anyway, I really wanted more for myself. So when I graduated from high school, I was only 16. And the reason for that was my father got sick in his 40s, got cancer, was dead by 46. My mother was stuck with 6 kids and could hardly speak English. So she went to work in a paper factory, which was in our village and actually supported the whole village. And so I was left at home, so our principal gave my parents a relief, and they said, "We'll have your oldest girl take her and drop her off in the kindergarten class, and we'll tell the teacher, just let her play with the kids." And at the end of the day, my sister was supposed to pick me up and bring me home. Sometimes she was busy and forget, and sometimes the teacher would bring her home. And the village was so small that sometimes I even walked home alone, and it didn't matter.
Everybody took care of everybody.
Everybody took care of everybody. So that's the reason I graduated at 16. So I knew that I couldn't go to college. And so where did I have to go to work? In the same factory where my mother was working. Except they were proud of me because I was a file clerk. My mother was working on a machine, but I'm a file clerk. And my father, though, was upset because I had to walk where the men were working. And he called me at home one day and said, "If you have to walk there, walk like this." What do you think he was? I'm 16 years old. My father's telling me to hide my boobs.
Don't look like that. Don't look loud and proud. Be a mouse.
Anyway, so what happened is I was upset about that, and my boss, who was a single woman, took a liking to me, and I was telling her that story, and I was crying, and I said, "God, I mean, like, he's even telling me how to walk." She says, "Well, you know, you're kind of little and cute. How about if you join Pan Am?" I didn't even know what it was. Anyway, she took me there. And when we got there, the woman said, "Yeah, you know, you fit the requirements, but how old are you?" I said, 16. She says, "Come back when you're 21. When she saw how disappointed I was, she said, "Well, you know, the Air Force is now taking women." And I said, "Air Force where all the men fly?" You know, I just had no understanding of that. She said, "Yes, women can now join." My boss took me to the recruiting office, walked in there, and the first thing, "How old are you?" 16. "Come back when you're 18. So I worked in that factory until I was 18, and then I broke my parents' heart. I joined the military.
Wow.
My mother was so upset that when they came, we didn't have a car, so they sent a car to pick me up to take me to New York.
Wow.
My mother was out there blessing the car.
Oh,
I mean, today I feel sorry as a mother. I know that I pained her terribly. But anyway, I get to Lackland Air Force Base. I had so many firsts. I had never been on a train before.
Wow.
I had never been out of this little village. And here I am in San Antonio, Texas. They ask you, "Well, what would you like to be?" I know.
what were your choices though as a woman? Were they
Good
limited?
question.
Well,
I assume active, sort of not active, but combat
Combat was out of the
is out of the question.
they
right?
just, "What would you like to do?" Because I had no confidence in what I could do because I didn't have an education. But we were in a gym, and I pointed to the teacher there, the drill sergeant. I knew I could do that because in high school I was captain of the cheerleaders. I said, "I want to do what she does. I want to be a drill sergeant." And they kind of laughed a little bit. But then they give you aptitude tests. And it came out communication, which now I know means I talk a lot, but in those days. And so therefore they sent me, the only one from my class of 80, to Washington, D.C., my first job working in the Pentagon.
Oh, wow.
I was scared to death. I mean, first of all, the next thing, I got on an airplane.
Wait, so just backtrack a little bit. What year was this that you enlisted?
I joined, and I had to wait until I was 18. So October 8th, 1950.
1950. So
I
they sent you to the
left for
Pentagon.
San Antonio, Texas.
And they sent you to the Pentagon, and then
From there, 3 months of training. I also made Miss Lackland Air Force Base.
Oh.
But the only reason I made that was because for some reason it was 80 women, but they were all flat-chested. And they put me in a car, you know, and all that stuff. But anyway, I left from San Antonio, Antonio, Texas to Washington, D.C. My first plane ride.
Wow. First train, first plane, first time out of state.
Right.
All that.
You know how scared I was.
I can't imagine.
And
Because you
so
seem pretty
now I
brave.
get there. Now I was given a stripe, so they made me a private first class, which was wonderful. I think the reason that they sent me there is because in high school I was a good typist. So they sent me to the Pentagon with orders, report. I walked, if you've ever been to the Pentagon, I mean, this country girl, all of a sudden, this mammoth building, and I had my orders. I tried to find where I was going, and after an hour, I got lost. And I sat down on the bench, and I was feeling very sorry for myself. So I said, I'm 18. I sat there and I cried, but I was trying to hide my tears so people wouldn't see it. So I'm like this. And all of a sudden, I see these shiny, shiny shoes. Looked up, and I see a star. I got so nervous, I jumped up to salute as he is bending down to say, may I help you? And I knocked his hat off. It wasn't funny. I cried. I mean, I cried because he had to go and pick up his hat. And he came back and he said, may I see your papers? And I gave him the papers. He said, I just happen to be going your way.
Oh.
I will escort you. So now I was on the right floor, but the wrong pew. Finally get there, open the door, and there was a woman sergeant sitting at the desk. She sees us coming in and she says, General, they're waiting for you. Right? And he hands her the paper and says, this is PFC Mercurio. We are reporting for duty. And so she goes, General, they're holding up the meeting for you. So he turns to me, wishes me luck, and he starts to walk to a door that was very close. And she says, do you know who he is? Well, I didn't want to think I was stupid, right? I said, I know he's a general. She says, that's just not a general. That's General Eisenhower. Oh. I turned to look at him with my mouth open. He knew she was going to tell me who he was, and he gave me a wink. So I got my first. I didn't find out. Now that was in January of almost my birthday, and I was all of at that time 19 years old.
Amazing.
19.
So that was a good way to start out your service. So tell us what life was like in the military, being probably one of the very few women.
Well, we were stationed in Arlington, so a bus would take me and some other women to the Pentagon, and
Great.
And so I was disappointed because the reason I joined the military is I wanted to see the world, and I knew that I didn't have the means to do that, and I thought the military would do that. But because I was such a good typist, my whole time was in the, after I got a top secret clearance and all that. They weren't going to send me to see the world. I sat there and typed, but I loved it. I loved it. And Washington, D.C. was a problem. We could not go into Washington, D.C. With our uniforms on. We would get spit on. And sometimes they would throw rocks.
That was the 50s or the 60s?
50s.
Because you were female?
And in a uniform.
In a uniform.
So we never.
So what was the attitude at the time that would happen? Like, what were they thinking?
Well, at the time, I would get upset over this, but my friends would say, this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. Be strong, but most of all, be proud. And I got into trouble one time because my high school boyfriend was a boxer. He liked to box. So there was on TV, a match. I wanted to go see it so I could tell him, I watched this. I walked in and the only seat available was on a 3-seat couch. 2 men were sitting there and they were black. And I sat there and I got called in the next day.
Oh, at work.
At work.
Wow.
Yep. And I was told, and you know what? They asked me, do you know those men? I said I never even spoke to them. They were watching the boxing match, and the only thing I said was, my boyfriend is a boxer, but I didn't know them. But you know what they did? They shipped those two boys out
Oh,
because
they were also military?
Like,
or-
was it supposed to be
oh
a
yeah,
as a
this
punishment?
as a punishment
Oh.
because this was a like where you gathered at the end of the night to watch television. Men and women could go there, and it was my first time there, and I didn't know I couldn't sit next to them.
Wow, that's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
this was 1950-ish.
1950.
Yeah,
Yeah.
terrible.
50,
Thank
51.
God those days were over, but I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that happened.
And so how long were you in the service?
Well, I signed up for 4, but I didn't stay the whole time because my high school boyfriend joined the Air Force after me, and my mother was so happy because now she said, you can still make believe you're still in, but you got to go live with your boyfriend. And so I got out in my 3rd year, so I didn't make 4 years. But I always say 4 because he joined the Air Force after me, so we lived another year in Texas.
Did you have a nickname in the service? Did they give you nicknames?
No.
As a plebe or anything? No.
I was just plain old Tess.
All right, very interesting background in the military. I found that fascinating. So not only were you an early female in the military with some interesting prejudices that we just learned about really for the first time, myself at least. You also have a couple of other interesting things that you've done. You're an author, you were a TV host, you're a radio host, but I really would love to talk about your authors, your books that you have. One of them was a memoir. Another one is called Shopping List for a Murder, and the third is The Flag. So which one did you write first?
Actually, I started the shopping list for murder first
We're going to
because
show this on the screen, but this is
You can
it.
show it. You can show
this
it.
is a true crime story. My second husband, when I got out of the military, my first marriage unfortunately didn't work, but I have 2 wonderful sons from that marriage. And I went to work in a law firm after my divorce, and I ended up marrying the boss. So, he was a trial attorney, and so this story was a young lady came to him, and she was charged with attempted murder. I couldn't believe that he took this case because lawyers don't like to take cases unless they think they can win. And I said to him, his name was Gil, how can you win this? She was writing, every time she went shopping, she would write, get kitty litter, dog food. Then she'd say, I'm going to kill the son of a bitch. It was premeditation. You could see.
Did she keep all her lists?
No. You know what she did? Every time she came home, she would rip up, it was on yellow legal pad. She'd rip up and throw it in the wastepaper basket. When her husband, not her father-in-law, who was a Nazi, he was a Gestapo.
The father-in-law was a Nazi.
During the Second World War.
And so the husband that
She married the son of
the Nazi.
The Nazi. And he was 17 and she was 16. But and in an Irish family with 12 kids on welfare, so her mother was
Go.
Yeah.
No checking.
Very,
just go.
very upset. But the Gestapo father-in-law had a purpose. His wife was getting old, and he wanted a little fresh stuff. And so this is what he used this girl. He would go in their bedroom of these newlyweds and say, it's my turn.
Oh.
And so she was so upset because now he loves this whole thing, so he won't let her out. Because, don't go talking to the neighbors, that kind of thing. So the only time she could write anything, he did give her a cat and a dog. She'd write, get kitty litter, get, dog food. And then she'd say, this time I'm really going to kill the son of a bitch.
And she's talking about the father.
Yeah, because she didn't want to do that, but his wife was getting old. So she had an obligation to take care of him, right? So anyway, Gil took this case, and of course I worked in the office, so I was in the courthouse all the time. And before the trial ended, I asked him how he thought he could win this case when there was no question. It's premeditation. It says it right there. He says, if I get 9 women on that jury and I tell them what this guy did to her, they're going to say he should go to jail, right?
So she didn't actually kill him.
No. Okay. And the funny thing is, her object went from him to her husband's girlfriend. Because
Well, he had a girlfriend too.
Well, because what happened is when the father would come in and take his wife, he felt left out, so he started to get his, and she was
That's a little messed up family there, I think.
Yeah.
no question. And how did he get those notes? Her husband knew that she was writing. He went in the garbage pail and picked out all these yellow pieces of paper, put them together like a puzzle, and her husband brought it to the police. And the police then charged with attempted murder.
So we won't tell the ending of the story because maybe we want people to buy the book. Is it available?
It is on
Amazon?
Amazon. And if you forget the name, you just have to put in my name, Tess McCormick, and you'll see the book.
We'll find the link, Tess, and we'll put the link in the description of the video. Shopping List for a Murder. Fascinating. And then the next book you wrote.
I just want to add one thing.
Sure.
I am in the process of writing a sequel to that book.
Oh, fascinating. All right, and then the next book is called The Flag. It's Epic Journey Home, and this book is also also a true story.
Also a true story, and it's the husband, the lawyer husband.
Your husband,
Your second husband.
Your second husband. It's also
Right.
about him.
And he was a Marine. I did not know him then. I only met him in the office. But when he was 18 out of high school, the Korean War was blazing, and he, like 100 other boys, joined the Marines. Once a Marine, always a Marine, he used to say. And so I met him later on. He's my second husband. And I did not know that he had a flag. I mean, he never told me.
What kind of flag?
A Japanese flag. What I did know is when I was in the office, when I first started to work for him, he had a plaque. He was awarded a medal from Admiral Nimitz for what he did. And when I asked him at the time, wow, I said, what'd you do to get that? He said, those of us who fought in the war don't talk about it. So he never told me. So, after a while, you don't ask anymore. When I married him, the plaque stayed there. I forgot about it. It was when we were married almost 12 years, and he was a fly fisherman. He had his buddies over for breakfast, and it was Father's Day, and I thought I would really surprise him because I found in his Marine uniform, in the pocket, this flag.
Japanese flag.
I didn't tell him. I thought, oh, he forgot about it. I had it framed, glass, beautiful. And after the guys got through having their breakfast, I come out, Happy Father's Day. He rips it and he sees the flag. Terrible day. He used a very bad word.
Oh.
Slammed it on the floor. I mean, went out the back door. He said, where the hell did you get this? And I had no idea. But I was sure that later, after the guys were gone, he would tell me about it, or he'd apologize for swearing, and nothing. Oh, maybe he needs more time. Maybe tomorrow he'll tell me. Tomorrow came and went. The week came and went. He never, ever wanted to tell me what happened until he was dying.
Oh my gosh.
He was.
I'm going to interrupt because I don't want people to hear the ending of the story because it's amazing.
Okay.
What happens at the end? It's absolutely
But up
amazing.
into the end, what is the story about the flag?
That I actually found my granddaughter actually went on the internet and every night for a year put on, is your name a Yakasana?
Well, it's what is the significance of the flag?
Why did he even have this flag?
How did he get the flag?
Well, that's what the book is about.
Okay, so
So you don't want me to tell that.
We want to know how he got the flag,
Well,
but not the end of what
Okay.
you.
What
Not the
happened
ending,
is
ending.
he was a radio operator, and his job with 20 Marines protecting him was to get him up on the hill so he could set up his radio equipment. And so as he was crawling, he says, in that foxhole, they had machine guns and the Marines could not get through them. They were being killed. So he tells them, throw a grenade in that spot. And somebody behind him did. And out comes a young Japanese boy. He thought it was a boy because he was so little, holding the flag in Japanese, the only thing, honorable death. They could only die honorable death. And he fell to the ground, his clothes on fire. When Gil got to the point where he was on the ground, the flag was not burning. So he picked the flag up and put it in his pocket, but he had to hurry to get up to where he was going. He was up there 9 days by himself
Oh my gosh.
until he didn't know what happened. There was a bomb dropped somewhere, and when he woke up, he doesn't know how long. He said, all I remember saying was, where am I? And they said, in a hospital in American Samoa.
Oh wow.
And that's how he survived.
well, he told he at least, I mean, like you said earlier, some people, and I know it from my family too, they don't like to talk about their experiences in the war, but at least you have the story behind it. But then there's more to the story on the flag. So we'll put the link. Is this still available on Amazon
Oh, yes.
as well?
Same thing. If
We'll
you,
put the link for Tess McCormick's other book, The Flag.
both of them will come up if you put my name.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put that in the description if you want to take a look at those two books. Very interesting. So we're going to go right into Ask a Villager now. I think we've got it. I mean, this woman's simply amazing, so interesting life. But like, how
long have you been in the
how did you
villages,
get to
and
the-
how
have
did you
you been
end
here
up
forever?
here?
You're,
Yeah.
you're
No.
93. You must have been
No,
here
when
since
my
the beginning.
husband died, I decided that I wanted to get out of the cold weather.
And how long ago was that?
He actually died in 1994.
Okay.
And I moved, well, I stayed in New York actually for a while. I think I actually moved here, well, let's see, 2010, I actually moved here
To Florida.
to Florida because I was busy writing my book in New York, and so I had things that I wanted to get finished. But anyway, I moved to Jupiter, and I lived at the Jupiter Yacht Club, and I loved it. I
Yeah.
really did. But I have a son who moved here, and
How old is your son?
well, he's going to have a birthday next month. He will be 70.
Wow. So your 70-year-old son lives in, almost 70, he lives in the villages.
He'll be 70 in June.
And he said, "Mom, you have to come here."
And he kept saying, no, Mom, you're not getting any younger. You know what, don't you think you should be closer? So I resisted for 10 years because I was only 80 then. But, you know, then I decided he's right because if something happened, he's 3 hours away. So I didn't really want to give it up. And so I came for those 3 days, you know, where they...
The lifestyle
Lifestyle
visit.
visit.
And what I liked is everybody is so friendly, but I really believe outside of my son being here, it was the military. Never,
There's a very strong
never
veteran.
before was I mean, people in the village, if you went there, they wouldn't even know that I was in the military.
And you're wearing your
I'm wearing it
club's
just because
outfit.
it's the first time I can be proud to wear it.
And what is the organization?
Oh, well, this is the first time I said it's the only female organization, Women Veterans.
The
Tri-County
Tri-County.
Women Veterans. So
Tri-County.
it's a villager group though,
It's a village.
and not outside of the villagers.
I think anybody can
Yeah.
join because I have a new friend. She lives in Ocala, so
Okay.
you don't have to live in the villages. But what I think is wonderful is you can walk the streets here. As I decided to wear this, first time I want to be proud. I am a veteran. I used to have something in my car. Oh, there it is. Show that little thing.
Oh,
It says, I am the veteran. And I had to wait until I was
Right. You're not the wife of, but you're the veteran.
That's
but
exactly.
you had to wait until you could come to the villages to could get truly honored.
And it is the only place in, I think, the whole United States that honors us.
I think Florida is very good at honoring veterans, but the villages in particular
In
is,
particular.
yes, very
It's
proud.
because there's so many of us
Yes.
here.
Yes.
So I said, you know what? You're giving me an opportunity to do this.
And how long ago was that?
That I
That you moved here?
Let's see, about a year and a half now.
And what area do you live in, and why did you choose this? Is it near your son? Does he live next door? Is he?
No, I didn't want them that close. This is Pinellas.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know Pinellas from,
Which is right above Brownwood.
right. And that actually is one of the reasons I knew Brownwood. First of all, I love to dance. So when I came here, you know, the week that I came, I was in the square dancing all the time. And actually, that's how I met Carol. I met her in a gym in California, and she picks me out.
Whoa, that's amazing. That's amazing.
But
What kind of dance? Is it just dancing to whatever the band is playing? Or are you a line dancer?
you give me
country
music,
dancer?
I can do it.
Okay.
I love to dance. And I'm a little disappointed because I've been trying to join a dance club, but they all say you need a partner. Well, I'm a widow. I don't have a partner, which is too bad.
But you would think there's men, widowers, or just single men also that want a partner.
Everyone that I've tried, and I've tried almost all of them, said bring a partner.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I thought you've tried all
so
of
maybe
the widows.
maybe now I'll get some calls, and they'll say, "I'll be your partner."
They might.
I think
never
you
know.
will get some calls. I will. So on that subject of being single in the villages, and you've been married twice. Would you ever think of
No,
dating
I'm done.
again? You're done.
Would you want a companion or just a dance partner, or
Just a dance partner would be fine, and if he's
just a dance
special,
partner,
we'll
guys,
talk about
no
that.
pressure.
But I'm really not interested because when you've had the best, you don't need anything else.
you know what? I
That's
hear
what
that from a lot
Sandy
of
said.
widows when you've had the best.
Yeah.
So you only believe in once in a lifetime.
And I want to correct what you just said because I wasn't thinking correctly. You said only been married twice. Actually, I've been married 3 times.
Oh.
Because when Gil died, his best friend and I ended up 6 years later getting married. But it was different marriage. It wasn't Gil, if you know what I mean. This time I was already 65 years old. He's 75.
You got married at 65? Wow. There's hope for me.
So
Then you'll kind of get a kick out of the story when my third husband was Joe. When one day we were at a fundraising and he said, "Tess, you and I have known each other for 40 years. My wife has been gone, Gil's gone. What do you say we get married?" I said, "Joe, don't be stupid." And he goes, "What's stupid about that?" I said, "We're friends." He said, "Why? Friends can't get married?" "Yeah, but not really." So I passed it off as a joke. Maybe 6 months later at another event, he said, "You know, I've really been bothered by what you said. I don't understand. Give me a reason why friends can't get married." Now I know this is really
serious.
serious.
He's serious.
And I looked at him and I said, "Joe, of course friends can get married, but I have to be honest with you. I can never love you the way I love Gil." That was it. And he was stunned for a moment.
I was going to say, did he cry? Like what?
No, but instead he looked at me and he said, "You know what? I love you enough for both of us.
Oh my God.
So marry me."
Did
And
you
I,
die?
and
Like your
I was
heart?
shocked, and I said, if he's willing to take that, I'd be a damn fool if I said no.
Wow.
And we had 10 easiest years of my life. I mean, I loved Gil more than life, but that was work. You know what I mean? With Joe, it was piece of cake.
How sweet.
I got lucky.
He like warmed your heart.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. I'm like
So we
getting
had
all
10
tingly
good years.
listening. That's lovely.
I was lucky.
Oh, that's good. So what other activities do you do besides dancing?
My
and
phone again. most of my time is spent in the gym. I'm writing a sequel to the Shopping List for Murder, and it will be called The Sins of My Mother.
That sounds juicy.
Sounds very juicy.
So that's so I spend time writing, I spend time in the gym, I spend time going in the square dancing by myself.
How often do you see your son? Do you guys have dinner often?
Well,
or-
last night, see that little card over there? What does that say? It's a beautiful place to
The
go.
Rose Plantation.
Oh, it's a house. Somebody yesterday turned it into a restaurant.
It's very much like this.
where to go for special
Yes,
occasions.
we're having
Yeah,
tea.
yeah. It's very like Victorian
Yeah,
and proper.
really, it's
white tablecloths, right?
So my son calls me all the time just to see. However, he also gave me a watch.
That we stuffed in the drawer.
And an Apple Watch. It's an Apple Watch.
Yeah, because he says, in case I fall down and I can't talk, I said, if I can't talk, means I'm dead. But anyway, and his wife is also a veteran, which is why the draw was there. Crystal.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful person. So we have that in common.
How have you found making new friends here? Has it been easy for you?
Actually, it has not been easy. You're going to find, especially somebody like me, if I was shy, I think it might be easy, but I'm not shy. I talk too much. I like to dance. I cook a lot, and I do things that probably women my age should slow down. But what I'm finding is if you're a single woman, they don't really want you there.
The couples, the married couples.
Yeah.
I could agree with that all my life. When I was divorced and single, the friend groups that were couples, same thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't any different.
Yeah.
Not
So,
just
well,
gorgeous.
you
get that
at
feeling.
my age, you would think they would
Right.
say she's old, but I think if I were quieter, maybe.
Or not as pretty, or didn't have,
Yeah.
Well, you have a very glamorous presence, I
Yeah.
would say, even though.
lively,
Yes.
glamorous, and exciting.
Well, I think when you grow up in a family of 6 kids,
You have to stand out.
you got to make some noise. And the thing is, my older sister, she's gone too, but she was really my mother. 'Cause,
How much older was your oldest sister?
let's see, there's 6 of us. She was 8, about 8
years old.
My mother, I think, my mother had kids like every year and a half in a row. And I got to be the youngest. And Anne, my older sister, loved to dance. And so she taught me how to dance on her feet. I'd stand on her feet and she would dance. And so I would say she was really my mother.
Do you drive a golf cart? Do you drive how do you go to Brownwood?
I have a car.
You drive
And
one.
my son Rick wants me to get a golf cart, but I like the car. I like my car. Your hair doesn't get messed.
That's true.
That's what Gina's mom said too, remember?
Her cloth. She was wearing her cloth.
And he said, well, you should, but first of all, I'm not a golfer. If I was, maybe I would give in. But I have a very nice car, and I drive myself.
What are some of the bands you like to go listen to the music and dance?
Yeah, there is one band, the 5 guys.
Rocky and the
Rocky and the
Rollers.
Rocky and the Rollers.
Rocky and the Rollers.
I love them, and they know I like to dance. And sometimes they send me notes where and then the head guy, he comes and dances with me.
Oh, well, if I ever see you down in the square dancing, I'm going to come up and dance with you too. Don't you worry.
What's your advice for other women in the same sort of position where if they've come here as a single woman or a widowed woman?
I think it's a wonderful place to go. I really am shocked at how friendly people are. However, if you're looking for a guy, you got to be careful because the women here are, they don't need the
They're
company.
protective.
Absolutely.
He's mine.
Absolutely. And I'm not interested in finding some. I'm interested in finding a dance partner. And maybe
We're going to have to make that a mission.
We need to find Tess a dance partner.
I think Rocky and the Rollers should that should be their mission.
That should be their mission.
Well,
They should know some guys.
They should know some guys to set you up with at the
And the
squares.
thing is, I'm still agile. I can still do the split.
Oh,
And I have some pictures I could show you. I dance for hospice. You know, I'm very active in hospice because Gail was on their hospice program. And so 3 years ago, they did a fundraiser called You're Never Too Old to Dance.
I like that.
Would you like to see the picture?
Yeah, we'll take it
grab
at the end.
and we'll show it at the end.
I have another question. So do you go to Genesis Gym?
I do.
Do you do the classes there, or
I do.
which classes do you like?
I just take mostly the Pilates class, and the other one is,
Do you do like group power or any of those?
yes, I do
I like
that too.
group power. That was the weightlifting.
Yeah.
Because that's important
And
for
then
us.
I go to Pilates though, not private, but it is a private.
Oh, right. I know what you mean.
by,
The studio.
Yeah, I go there 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday. It's an hour class. And what was interesting is when I first started, I got in the class and I thought it was a beginner class. So I went to the teacher and I said, is there an advanced class? I said, I've been doing this for all my life. She said, yes, but you know, it's really hard. They do that. So I said, could I sign up for it? She said, you have to qualify.
Oh.
And so she knew that, she says, and I know your age because she had, and she said, so I don't think it's a good idea. So
Did you drop in the splits and show her?
No, I kind of got.
How about this? I'll show you.
I finally did that, but she actually tried me out. She made me come in and do this and that, and then when I did the split and I put my foot on her shoulder, she says, "Get out of here." So I now am in the advanced class.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great.
Amazing.
So I find that if you keep yourself busy, keep your body busy, it keeps your mind busy.
And do you do anything, any kind of mind, like puzzles or
Mahjong,
Sudoku.
Sudoku? My dad
Sudoku.
I
used to
do that every day.
Keeps your mind sharp.
I
Anything
do,
for your
I
any
do
puzzle.
one every day from the newspaper. That I read the newspapers and I do that, and then I go to
I
the
do the
gym.
word find.
I like that. I like any kind of word game.
That's
Any-
that's like the easiest thing possible.
Scrabble.
Find the word.
But anything to keep your mind sharp is
Yeah.
key. Yeah. I think we've covered everything that we wanted to cover today. And so we want to thank you again for listening into this episode of Ladies of Lanai with our special guest, Tess McCormick. We want to remind you, please, if you like the content that Tina and I bring to you, please do love us back. And by liking and subscribing, we really, really appreciate that. And share with others, especially if you know a male dance partner who's looking for a female dance partner with no other strings attached.
Right.
We'll be screening. We'll be screening. Send them in.
Yeah. And thanks a lot again for watching, and we'll see you next time
Out on the lanai.
out on the
Thank
Lanai.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
this was fun.
Yay!